Press and record. Oh, hey everyone. Welcome back to Chopping It Up. It is your girl BK.
And it's your boy Big Bro. We in the building.
Hey Chicago family, like first and foremost, we love you. We missed you and we are super excited for this week's episode. How you doing, Big Bro?
Hey, I'm doing great. Did I
You
lose you?
doing
Oh, there
great.
you go. Doing great, man. It's been a great weekend. Barbecue yesterday. Food was all good. It's been a great start to spring, man. It felt like 90 degrees yesterday.
I know the weather is actually, she took her medicine. So I'm really excited about that. But we have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. Like, there's been a lot that's going on in Chicago, both happy and sad, as well as some, beef that seems to be happening with some celebrities we know, I guess. But we'll talk about that right after this intro.
Yes.
Hey.
So,
So,
Chicago, we have to start this episode with pretty sad news. Over the weekend, an off duty police officer by the name of Ariana Preston was among one of 25 people shot in Chicago, and I believe one of 4 or 5 people who were murdered in Chicago. She was getting off work over in her neighborhood. She was sitting outside her house when a group of young men, at this point, I believe 4 people are in custody for
yes,
this
four
BK,
people.
and apparently either one or all of them are juveniles or underage, and apparently they rode up to the side of her car and opened fire, killing her as she was getting off work, serving the community. 24 years old. This is just something that
Yeah.
you don't want to hear. I have nieces in that age range. I have nephews who are trying to step into the world and start to do something for themselves and maybe establish themselves. And becoming a police officer was a dream of this young lady. As you guys saw in the picture, she's a college graduate, and she's serving her community, and she loses her life not in on duty, not in the line of fire, not by some bank robber, but by some young, let's just say it truthfully, thugs that took her life. It's sad.
Yeah, I think like so many things went through my mind because she's been a police officer. She was a police officer for 3 years. And, she was just getting off her shift. It was around 1:40 something in the morning. She's getting out her car to, be shot down. And so I immediately was like, it felt like a hit. Now, according to some news articles out there, they're saying that it was a robbery and they ended up shooting her, but other articles are saying that she was just gunned down. So to me, it feels more like a hit, like, but they have everybody, they have four suspects in custody, but it's just one of those things of one, somebody's life was taken away. She's serving and protecting her community, and someone decided that, hey, today is the day that's going to be the end of her life. But also the people who are in custody, if it is those who actually did open fire and end up, taking Ariana's life, like their life is over. Like they're all under 18, and it's just like what is going on that people are like, nah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna be a part of murder, or just like I'm gonna go shoot somebody. Like I don't understand it.
I don't know. It makes me think about what we were talking about last week with the fellas on here. If you guys missed last week's episode, you can find it right here on YouTube under the live tab because we did it live. It's in the live tab in our community
Yes.
for Chopping It Up Chicago. But we do appreciate you guys' support. But we had 2 young gentlemen on here in their early to late 20s who grew up in this new era of Chicagoans, young Chicago
Mhm.
kids who are kind of wild, rowdy, out there with no real supervision. And is there a plethora of reasons as to why these things happen? And it goes back to the late 80s, early 90s, of course, when the FBI was arresting a lot of gang leaders on RICO charges. Kind of RICO charges were created for the mafia, like to take
Mhm.
out mafia people who were so far removed from the crime that they couldn't really get them, but you basically guilty by association with RICO charges, right? So
Mhm.
now They utilize that to lock up all the gang leaders. There's no order anymore. Whereas when we were growing up, although murder happens in Chicago throughout history, really, it was just more organization. Like the kids
Mhm.
were off limits, women were off limits. You
Yeah.
definitely weren't shooting police officers. And now you have a situation where these young kids are just out there on their own and they're leaders amongst themselves. So if you got a car full of 15 and 16-year-olds and the 16-year-old is the leader, and like that person right there, just shoot him. And of course, drug culture is way different
Mm,
today, whereas now young kids are taking Molly and Percocets and popping all types of pills and smoking on whatever, and they're not thinking straight. You get what I'm saying? Like you're
mhm.
completely inhibited to even maybe reconsider certain things because you're just off your rocker. It's so many different things, and my real answer is honestly, BK, I don't know what's going on. Like I really don't know what's happening beside the fact that these people are just lawless. They don't have any morals. We kind of grew up going to church, even if we were in the hood, surrounded by violence and drugs. We still went to church.
Mhm.
Things like that. It's just not happening anymore, and really, it just feels like it's a godless society, and it unfortunately cost this young lady her life, and these young men their lives. Because let's be frank, if she wasn't an off-duty police officer, they'd probably still be walking the streets. I'm gonna be 100. We know that 90%, 90+% of crimes in Chicago, gun violence, just go unsolved.
Yeah, that's true, and I was concerned by that because some of the articles that I read, they were saying that the community activists, came to the police station to be like, "What are you gonna do about this?" And I was like, "So it takes a community activist to actually make this happen," because she's not a, white man. Like, that's the
Hmm.
very first thing I thought of, but they were on it, so I can't, say that. As to your point, big bro, I feel like what we talked about last week is you have people who are basically doing stuff to get attention. Like there was that rapper who killed his family and then put out an album. Everyone is trying to be seen, be heard. You have a lot of people that, as you said, like they don't have supervision. They've been raising themselves. Let's be real. Like their parents aren't there. Maybe their parents are working. Maybe they were abandoned. Maybe they're raised by like elderly, grandparents or whatever it is. But they feel like they're raising themselves. So who are you to tell me what I can and cannot do? Um, so it's really, I mean, being a police officer is scary anyway, right? Like we all know that you could die. Like that is one of those professions that you truly your life could be taken.
Right.
Um, but it's always really sad, when you see anything like that, and when you know that it's from somebody who's young that decided to give up their life for that too, because police officers don't play with police officers. Like, that
No.
one most likely was going to be investigated anyway, if
Hmm.
nothing else, to send a message, and then when people are sentenced, they're usually sentenced, like, as much as they possibly
Are
can be,
they?
like, you
Are
will
they
not
throwing
get out.
buddy? They throwing them under
Like
jail, even if they
like,
are
you
juveniles. They're gonna be tried as adults.
oh,
So,
100%.
rest in
Yeah,
peace to this young lady, man. It's just unfortunate to see. Rest in peace to this young lady, and we're praying for her family and friends. So
yeah,
BK, we kind of wanted to follow that up with a nice quote. You want to read that for
yeah.
us?
Yes. So this is to all my ladies out there. It's from Poets Cafe. It says, "Dear girl, you're not meant to be a mere shadow in the background. Embrace your voice. Let it resonate and shake the very foundation of the world. Be bold, be fierce, and unapologetically true to yourself. Shine bright and illuminate the world with the fire of your spirit." I love it. 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 I love it so much for a couple reasons. I don't know about you guys, and I'm talking to the women out there, so fellas, give me a second. I feel like a lot of us grew up being taught to dim ourselves in some way, shape, or form. right? So, like, don't be too loud, be a good girl, like, do well, but don't do better than these other people. If you are standing up for yourself, if you are being fierce, if you are honestly just expecting respect, you have people who are trying to tear you down. But don't be afraid to be unapologetically you. It is 2023 and you deserve to be you. You deserve to shine your light brightly. And
So,
fellas, you too.
amen.
You too. But
Amen.
it said dear girls. I'm gonna start with them, with us.
Yeah, start and it starts and finishes with you all as well, and that's just the reality. We have to protect you guys. We got to protect Black women. We got to protect women in general. And unfortunately, what happened to that young lady Ariana is just unfortunate, man. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have to move right along though. We don't want to just be diminish what occurred, but we're gonna move to the next topic. Last week before we ended, we touched on something that this young man Lorenz Tate, Chicagoan, had to say about
Hey, Lorenz.
Hollywood, about Hollywood and how they cast their movies and such. He believes that Hollywood places more value on British Black actors than Black American actors. And
Mhm.
for maybe the last year or so, that's been something that's been on my mind just by seeing like who was cast to play in Snowfall and so on and so forth. Like you have these very talented, and obviously I'm not going to take anything away from these people. They work hard as well to obtain the status that they have. But you just look and you're like, wow, this person's British, that person's British, this person's British. And I
Mhm.
always feel like when it comes to like things where you're talking about American history, then you should find a Black American to do it. If it's Black American history, especially the movie that came out a couple of years ago about Huey Newton, and they had the young guy, the young Black actor from England who was in Black Panther. I can't think of his name. He was in Black Panther though. He was in Get Out, the guy from Get Out,
Oh, yeah.
the
Mhm.
the
Why
main character. So they
I only ever see him as Get Out. Like, every time I see
yeah.
him, I'm like, "Hello, sir.
Yeah, so
You
he's
should have
the main actor from Get Out, who's a British actor, and they had him play a Chicagoan. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like there has to be Black actors here in America who've actually walked these streets and lived these lives, who are touched, ingrained in this culture that can play these roles. So I can understand where Lorenz Tate is coming from. What do you think, BK?
As I said last week, I he's in the industry, right? So he sees more than I do. And he is a black actor. And so he's seeing that roles that he could play and he knows other, people could play are being given to somebody else. So I have noticed the same thing you've noticed. I've noticed a lot of black actors coming over. So my thought was wondering, is it that there is more of an opportunity in America than there is in Great Britain for roles? That was my first thought. And then secondly, I was wondering about the pay scale. Is it cheaper? Is it more expensive? Is it just like fresh blood? Like there's so many different like variables that take place. Because one of the big things that I do know from like my short like background in acting is the fact that there is about pay, there is about how popular is this person, and so it's just kind of like they always want somebody who has some form of popularity that will bring to your show or your movie, or at least that's what they say. Like that's one of the reasons why when it comes to international markets, they talked about, oh, we can't have a black lead because they won't do as well in other countries. But then you have other movies and shows like Black Panther just proved that completely wrong, right? So like there's so many different things that I'm wondering what the verbiage is. I'm wondering what they're trying to say in the background. But to your point, I do agree. I feel like if somebody has lived that experience, like it's second nature to them, right? And they even though, all across the diaspora, we all have common issues and we all have commonalities that make us who we all still have grown up on different continents and different countries that have different cultures that are specific to those places. So it's like, Like every place has its own slang, every place has its own way of walking, its own, swag, all those things. So it would make more sense to cast people that are from these locations. But then it also makes me wonder if they can also go, to Great Britain and maybe get some roles as well. If it's just people coming in and there's no way for them to go over or
Well,
what.
you're not. I mean, obviously, we don't watch too many BBC programs, right? But like, I don't see the actor from America coming over here and then going over there and acting like a Brit versus the British people coming over here and managing our accents and so on and so forth.
But
Like a
I think
young
that's
man
the
from
problem. I
yeah,
think that's the problem. I think that they can be versatile compared
right,
to a lot of us. So, because America still dominates the entertainment industry
right.
worldwide, they have learned like people learn English, people learn different accents, the American accent. So, just like I've lived abroad, so my whole thing is the world is large. If it's not here in America, you definitely have a place. Like your acting career, your career, and whatever it is that you want can still exist, even if it is not in the United States. And so
Hmm.
I'm wondering if actors here are thinking like that, or if it's only because it's the biggest one, then this
Right.
is where I want to make it. But I'm like, it's like, basketball. Like you can be in the NBA or you can be in other leagues. You're still making money.
Yep.
Like, like that's just my thought process. But
That's true. That's true.
yeah. But you
Well,
know what? I'm wondering about other people's thought processes because
amen. There you go.
like, okay, so what do you guys think? Because when I saw this, I was like, wait, what? So as we know, Chris Brown and Usher, it seems like they're fighting. Like,
Like
what?
physically fighting.
Like physically fighting. Like there are reports that Usher had a bloody nose and everything's okay. I mean, look at this picture. Like Chris is like, yeah, yeah, and Usher's like, hey girl, all these things. So, according to some TMZ articles that I read, they had what was their tour? The Love and
The Lovers and Friends, which is dope.
Lovers
It's
and
like
Friends.
a festival for like everybody from like TLC to In Vogue to Usher to
Right.
just black music entertainers from the 90s forward for the most part are a part
Yeah,
of this event.
when we had, like R&B love songs and everything wasn't just, like rap and like ringtone rap of like what's going on today and stuff like that. But it seems as though allegedly, right? Because we weren't there. It was at a roller rink. It was like a pre-party.
No, it
And
was Chris Brown's birthday party,
oh, okay.
and it was
See,
a star-studded event at the skating rink, and apparently Chris Brown got into it with Tiana Taylor,
yes,
I
so they
believe.
said so allegedly, like, Chris Brown was supposed to perform at the AMAs last year. He was supposed to do a Michael Jackson performance, and, that got vetoed. And it seems like he blames Tiana Taylor for that happening. I don't know, she said something behind the scenes or something went on, but it got vetoed completely. So when Tiana came into his birthday party, he was like, "Nah, she needs to get out of here." And Usher stood up for her and was like, "Nah, my man, like she's fine. It's okay." It got into a heated discussion. A punch was thrown. And then later on that night, they're performing, and Tiana's also dancing to like his music and stuff like that. So, first and foremost, if that is true that she got him vetoed, I didn't realize she had that much sway in Hollywood where she could straight up just say,
I doubt it.
um, right? Like that was my thing. But I was like, go ahead, Tiana, because she's been in the industry for a while, right? Like
Mhm.
she's done a lot of stuff behind the scenes when it comes to producing and choreography and all those
Right.
things. So I'm like, she might have more sway than I know. But what I kind of enjoyed about this story is they're seen out the next day and they're talking to each other. They seem to be fine. Who knows what's really going on? But this just reminds me of how it was growing up. You would see people fight and then they just talk to each other the next day. No guns are out. Nobody's like, I'm gonna kill you and everything like that. It was just like, okay, I got it on my system. Now we're good.
And in these cases, it's like you're talking about messing up your money. And I think when money's involved, we can squash this real quick. Real quick. And then you talking about drunk and most likely on drugs because this is a Hollywood event. So that all plays a role in it. When you sober up, you like, did I really punch Usher in the face? Like,
Right.
that's the type of stuff that happens, and you text each other, you call each other, y'all kiss and make up. From what I'm seeing, when this story first broke, it was like, oh my god, I felt like Chris Brown and his bodyguards ran up on Usher like, watch this, and punched him in the face real
Why are
quick.
you like this? Why?
But as the story evolved and all the details started to come out, maybe publicists are putting spin on it. Maybe it's been handled by Olivia. What was her name
Olivia
from
Pope?
Scandal? Olivia Pope. Maybe it's been handled, but honestly, I think it's just been something that's kind of blown out of proportion. That really wasn't too big of a deal. But once social media got its hands on it, Twitter fingers got to saying what might have happened, and we don't really have any true details about what actually happened. The only thing I
Right.
can go by on is what I've seen in the videos, and in the videos, it seemed like everybody's kissed and made up. But go ahead.
Well, I was also just thinking it's a great publicity stunt, like, because all the articles like, Chris Brown has been in the news again this year because people were trying to recancel him, which I was just like, "Why are we
Stop.
trying to recancel him?"
Yeah,
Like,
stop.
he was canceled, and he was canceled for a while,
Yeah.
like, Trey Songz
Not
almost
until
completely took over his career, like, he almost
and
was
honestly, it
there.
wasn't until Deuces came out, and then when These Girls Ain't Loyal came out, that was when Chris Brown was like officially back.
Yeah,
Look,
but he was
look at me
gone for a
now.
couple years.
Yeah,
Like,
he
it
was.
wasn't
He
and,
dropped a whole album that nobody bought and nobody. He got kicked out of his campaigns for commercials and everything.
yeah.
And ever since that whole Rihanna situation, him and Rihanna have been made up. They've made music together and so on and so forth. So like
Well, right.
re-canceling him is just odd to me.
Well, yeah, so to me, it was just kind of this thing of, oh, so when you saw these articles, it was just like, oh, he's in the news again. So my thought, just because I'm a marketer, my thought was like, okay, so it's good publicity. It's just like, how do we make sure that people have their eyes on this tour and on this show? Okay, we can do this angle. No, like here we go. Oh, but we're good. We're good. I'm not saying that's what happened, I don't know, but, like, I'm always looking at how they flip things, and in
Yeah.
America, maybe not in other places, but in America, any publicity is good publicity.
Yes.
So
Get those clicks. All right,
right.
BK, what's going on in Chicago?
Okay. Well, as I told you guys last time, if you guys want to be booed up, if you want to bring your boo with you, there is going to be an LMI concert. It is at the end of the month. She will be at the House of Blues downtown. Yes, May 24th, 6 to 10 p.m. It's North Dearborn Street. You get to see her. I mean, this is another British export coming in.
Music
But
different though.
Music's different, it hit different, okay.
Mhm.
But if you guys wanna go, downtown, like, make it a date night. You can go and see a couple festivals maybe, or like a street festival, get some food, and then go to the concert, and you'll be good with that. Something else that you guys really wanna get involved in is every week there is live jazz at the Ritz. It's 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. This is when you want to dress up and be a little bougie, like go ahead, like whether it's a girls' night, whether it's a date night, whether it's just you by yourself and you're like, I'm about to be at the Ritz and I'm gonna be around some rich people. So let me show how beautiful I am. If you need a sugar daddy, if you want to be a sugar baby,
What?
just go out, like go to where the rich people are.
I
I
honestly didn't know that you can find your sugar daddy at a jazz fest thing, man.
Listen,
That's
you can
what's
find them anywhere.
up.
You can do a lot of that as well. Something else that is going on in Chicago, and you guys, this is an interesting experience. It's called Le Petit Chef, and it is an interactive
Jealous of.
experience. So they're doing a lot of like it's a light show. You have a video of a chef teaching you how to make things. He guides you through a multi-sensory tasting menu,
Hey,
and then they
hey,
have like
hey.
really cool art on there. This is until next year. This is until January 24th of next year as well. So if you go on like feverup.com, you can get tickets. It's like a multi-day thing. So that's
Nice.
always going to be there as well. Um,
Multi-sensory tasting menu. I just have different ideas when I hear that, but go ahead.
so what they're really trying to do is they're trying to bring all your senses together, right? So like
Right.
you're tasting something, you're smelling something, you're seeing
I'm just
something.
saying, don't tickle me while I'm trying to eat some food. You feel me? Like that ain't.
You're
I'm not
dumb.
in.
You
Just
are
saying.
so tough. If you are interested this month at the Goodman Theater, you can go see this lovely play that is out here last night and the night before by Donetta Lavina Grays. It is the Chicago premiere, and it really just talks about family, the good, the great, the bad, the ugly, sacrifice, love, intergenerational things. You can go to the Goodman Theater to get tickets for that as well. The Goodman has some really cool things. Like if you actually sign up for their newsletter, they have free shows that they give you. They also have like behind the scenes things, tours. They allow you to talk with the directors after shows as well. So you can really get into the mind of things. And if you are a creative, if you are an actor, that's a good place for you to go to start making connections as well. And one of the last things that we're going to talk about today, and I mean, Big Bro, you'll probably love this. The National Squash Championships are here in Chicago, and they are currently going on. They end on the 11th. And I was like, okay, squash is one of those things like squash and pickleball and stuff like
Right.
that. It's like, it's
It's
basically
coming up.
tennis, but not.
It's tennis for like people who with bad knees. Like
Because
people
you're
who want
like,
to
you're
stay
like hitting
active.
it against the wall, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too familiar with squash, but I do know pickleball and it's becoming an actual thing where like even LeBron James and them have been attached to pickleball tournaments and so on and leagues. But it's usually something I see older people doing, like people who are kind of like retired and they get up with the other old people at the YMCA while everybody's at work and school and they just take over the basketball courts, which I hate because I'm off on Monday, Tuesdays. I'm trying to hoop and you got old people like, excuse me, sir, can you pick up this doggone pickleball for me to give back to my old friend? But shout out to everybody. The squash tournaments look like it should be pretty fun. So definitely check that out. Is that it? That's all we got for what's going on in Chicago?
I think we have boom, 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 boom. I mean, there's always like 50 billion other things that are going
Oh
on in
yeah,
Chicago
absolutely.
as
Man, it's
well.
nice outside. Go for a walk, go to
Yeah.
downtown Millennium Park, check out the bean, rent some jet skis. My wife and I did that recently. It was so much fun. You guys would definitely enjoy it. Summertime shy, as
Yeah,
Kanye West said.
and you guys, there are a whole bunch of festivals that are going on. So make sure that you are following us on our Facebook page and our YouTube and Instagram because we will be uploading like a whole bunch of shorts of like so many restaurants have been opening. The festivals are coming back, as I said, and then there's like a lot of pop-ups that are happening as well. So make sure that you follow us throughout the week because we'll have things in there for you as they are coming as well.
All right. We're gonna do a quick sports update before we do BK's business beat. And we're gonna be getting up out of here real soon. We appreciate y'all for rocking with us right here on Chopping It Up Chicago with Big Bro and Butterscotch Kisses. This week we got the Chicago Cubs taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. It's a huge rivalry in baseball. The Chicago Cubs and Cardinals hate each other. There's no two ways about it. I got a coworker who's a Cardinals fan that's always in my ear. Cardinals ain't playing too well this year. They always end up playing well toward the end of the season, so we'll see how it goes. The Cubs should take care of business. They've been playing well this season so far. They got a nice young team that's been playing better than they supposed to. Then you also got the White Sox this week taking on the Kansas City Royals. Last night, the White Sox killed the Cincinnati Reds 17-4. BK, you don't see that type of stuff in baseball. 17 runs scored is a football score. Then we got the NBA playoffs. Man, the NBA playoffs have been amazing. Amazing. Like you got last night, for example, you had an overtime game with a game-winning three from James Harden to go ahead and tie the series up between Philly and Boston at 2 games apiece in their second round. Then you had the Phoenix Suns play the Denver Nuggets, where Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and Landry Shamet, a bench player that just came in and decided to be a part of it, take on the Denver Nuggets. And your boy Nikola Jokic had 56 points and still lost the game. So that series is tied at 2. Tonight we got Bron and Curry again. They going at it. Golden State is down 2 games to 1 to the Lakers, and they're trying to tie things up. And then you also have the Knicks versus the New York Knicks versus the Miami Heat. BK, I'm not sure if you remember in the '90s when the Knicks and the Heat used to go at it with Patrick Ewing and Alonzo Mourning and
Yeah,
coaching. Yeah, so they back at it right now. This is the first time they playing each other in the playoffs since the '90s, if I'm not mistaken. And it's definitely had that feel to it with teams barely scoring 100. It's getting rough and tumble down there. So a
it's
person
like
like
how
myself,
Detroit used to be. They would just beat
exactly.
everybody up, man.
Exactly. So I'm enjoying the NBA playoffs so far, and the Chicago Bears had their rookie mini camp. If you guys want any information on sports updates, Chicago sports, make sure you follow all the different Chicago Central channels that I'm a part of: Chicago
Mhm.
Bulls Central, Chicago Bears Central, Chicago White Sox and Cubs Central, Chicago Sky Central, and then you also have NBA Central and the Shy Bulls podcast with the Cognac Boys. Go ahead, like, follow, and share all of that stuff for your updates on sports. We do a little bit of updates over here, but you can find us on all social medias. Hit us up, the emails, and all that good stuff. BK's Business Beat. I love this. This is my favorite segment right here. What's going on? This is how we started.
Hi.
BK.
How are you guys? Oh my God. That's me. That's me in the picture. Oh my God. So it's easy marketing. Okay. So here's the thing. Today, we are going to talk about setting boundaries, saying no, and breaking up with your customers. I said it. So here's the thing, just because you have a business does not mean that you have to take every single customer that comes to you. I have learned this the hard way. And especially when you're just starting, especially if you have like a 9 to 5, or if you're really trying to make this work, a lot of us want to take absolutely everybody because, like, we need money, right?
Yep.
But you also have to understand that how you start, or like how you practice, is how you're going to play. How you start is most likely how you're going to finish. So, just like we don't want to deal with Karens when they come in and they ask for managers, you don't want a Karen as a client. You don't want somebody who is constantly nitpicking because this person is
That's
trying, they're really
gospel right there, BK. That's
like
gospel.
they're not gonna pay you. They're not gonna pay you what you're worth. They might try to sue you for stuff. Like, that has not happened to me, thank God. But what you really have to understand is that you know what you're talking about. You do have the skills for this business, and you should be paid accordingly. And if this person cannot pay you, somebody else can. And I'm saying that because I know a lot of us try to do the friends and family discount, but I have noticed that a lot of friends and family, they just don't have it, right? And they want a lot from you. And you don't want to end up like potentially having a bad relationship later on because you guys got into business together. So set your prices. And when it comes to setting your prices, what you need to think about is not just what is the median like for the industry, but you need to think about, can I be paid? Like, if they pay me this, will I actually be able to pay my bills with this? So, when you're thinking about setting your prices, especially if you have a business like I do when it comes to marketing, part of my prices is like I'm adding up, okay, what is the software that I'm using on my computer? What are my business expenses for the year? How am I able to, like, if I have a virtual assistant, will they be able to be paid? All of this comes together in order for me to be able to make a profit. And that's going to be more than what you initially think about. What you're trying to do is not overwork yourself, not make it so that you have to end up working 18 hours a day instead of the 8 or 9 hours a day that you did before. You're trying to set it up so that I only need this amount of clients to make this amount that I made at my job, or even more, before I quit it, right? Like, that's what you have to have in mind. And as I said before, setting boundaries is important. If somebody starts to have an attitude with you before even contracts are signed, say no. If somebody is talking to you and they are unhappy with your services, listen to them, but also make sure that you have a paper trail. Make sure that you say, as per this email or as per our contract. Like, don't be afraid to let people know. But honestly, don't be afraid to let people go either. Like,
Hmm.
there is always somebody else, even if you have dry months, even if it is a little bit of time before the next client comes. Make sure that you stay firm when it comes to your prices. make sure that you say no. You don't need to take a Karen with you. That's all it is. That is my business
bro.
beat for today. And if you guys are looking for more stuff, I have my podcast too. It's called the Leslie and Lily podcast for my business, Lily Rose DMA. Weekly, I come out with episodes for with myself and other business owners who come on and they share their business journey. They talk about how they're currently marketing themselves. I share how you can market yourself in 2023 and beyond, both online and offline. That is on Spotify, Apple, and the videos are on YouTube. Leslie and Lily of Lily Rose DMA.
Yeah, y'all already know my sister taking care of business. Y'all go ahead and check all that out.
Yeah, yeah,
This is
yeah.
where we started. Because of this, we've been able to give birth to other things, and it's been really exciting. We appreciate you guys for rocking with us here, but we definitely want y'all to come holler at us on the other things as well. So, what are we reading, watching, and listening to? Another one of the OG segments on this here
Yeah.
program. DK, you can go ahead because all I've been watching, reading, and listening to is sports. That's it. It's been baseball, basketball, football. That's pretty much it. I've been watching Will Trent with the wife. That one just ended up. It just did their season finale.
Yes.
Um, but that's pretty much it in terms of like watching TV. I sit down with my wife and watch the stuff that she like, and then everything else is based on the content that I have from my other
Mm.
podcasts.
You work so hard. You work so hard.
It's tough.
Listen, this man already did like 3 podcasts before we're recording this one, and I'm over here like, "Well, I'm late because this is my first podcast of the day." I
That's
got
it.
recordings later on, but, like, we hustling. Listen,
Yes, ma'am.
2023 is setting us up because for the rest of our lives, we're gonna be doing this, and it's gonna be
Yes.
great. Well,
Yes.
I'm listening and watching a couple of things. Who do I wanna start with? Let me see. Okay. So if I'm going to talk about what I'm watching a Netflix, or I just finished a Netflix show called Sanctuary. It is about sumo wrestlers. And I mean, look at these men. They're huge. And when you see this show, they can F you up. I have never in my life. I'm like, oh my God. What what's interesting about this show is the fact that it is about like the lead guy, he's like a bad boy of sumo. And if you know anything about Japanese culture, they're very traditional. It's very much about we've been doing this for like 1500 years this way. We don't change anything. So he has more of like a gangster attitude and he comes into it and he's really good at what he does. He's really cocky, but he ends up, having a humbling experience and it changes him. But it's really funny. It's interesting. In many ways, it kind of watches like an anime, like the humor about it. Like you're expecting like to see, like steam come out of people's foreheads. There's at one point where like you see someone like have a nosebleed and you're just like, oh, he saw a pretty girl, so
Yeah.
it's cute when it comes to that. It just came out last week, and hopefully it'll be on, Netflix for a while. Something else that I have really gotten into, for those of you who don't know, my background is in music and singing, and so I've been writing an album, and so I'm like 6 songs in, and one of the things that I've been doing is looking at a lot of documentaries of like people like documenting their musical journey. A lot of artists and different things where they're showing behind the scenes. It's really inspiring. And I found this band, which is a Japanese band, and they're called One OK Rock. Now,
Okay.
the lead singer, his voice is like butter. Oh my God, it is beautiful. So, if you guys grew up listening to Evanescence or like Fallout Boy
Mm.
or oh, why can't I think like I write sins but not tragedies? What are
Panic
they
at the
called?
Disco.
Thank you, them. Like, he has a Panic at the Disco and Fallout Boy type voice. And
Okay.
so I was like, "Oh, what is this? What is this?" But I've been listening to a lot of their stuff. They have songs in English as well as Japanese. So I actually have like 3 of their songs that I'm practicing right now because I'm gonna put out some covers as well.
Nice.
And I know, do you guys? I mean, people did everyone ever watch, like, Quantico? Because we have the
Now, you know I
beautiful
watched it.
I mean,
Whew.
she's gorgeous. We have Priyanka Chopra Jonas. I have been listening to her autobiography, Unfinished. It is super interesting. Like, this woman has lived all over the world. She really she grew up in a non-traditional type family. Both of her parents, well, for Indian culture, like both of her parents were equals.
Mm,
Very much so, like, she has lived all over the world, and I'm only in the, like, middle of it right now, but it's really interesting and it's very inspiring. I feel like especially for women, to go out there to use your voice as we had the quote earlier. Just allow yourself to be seen, be unapologetically you, allow yourself to be curious and, ask for forgiveness and not permission. Let's be real. Like, that's just kind of what it comes down
amen.
to as well. But
Amen.
I know something that you have been doing, big bro. I know that you have been listening to friend of the show, Blaze. He
I
has
have.
yeah. Look at
He
that.
dropped he dropped a
A
new track.
Nike on fire.
Right? So there's a reason for that. Before we discuss that, real quick, BK, I just want to say because we kind of like in the entertainment section, we got to say happy birthday to. I'm just gonna be frank, the first white girl that I ever thought was bad, Danielle Fishel from Boy Meets World,
So
Topanga. For those of you who don't know who
as
she
soon
is, mm.
as soon as soon as you said the first one, it's like that is every black guy that I know. Everyone is
Yes.
like, they're like,
Oh,
"Oh, we love
Topanga.
Topanga. Topanga is
Topanga,
Topanga."
Topanga. Jesus. I mean, and to this day, as you see, she's still looking like a whole snack. She turned 42 on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Happy
She
birthday.
looks stunning. She
Doesn't
has
she look
aged well.
very well, very well. She's very gorgeous young
Mhm,
lady, and I'm not sure how active she is in Hollywood anymore. I know they brought Boy Meets World sequel out a couple years ago for Disney Channel, Girl Meets World,
mhm.
but since then I haven't really seen much of her. But I saw her come across my social media timeline. I was like, oh, she's 42 now. We got to tell her happy birthday. Now
Happy
back,
birthday.
yeah, Boy Meets World was a great show, man. I got my kids
Mhm.
watching it now. Before they watch the new stuff, they gotta watch the old one first. That's how I do it in my house. All right, so back to Young Blaze, friend of the show, released the track in conjunction with Twin. I think it's called something Twin Beats. Twin Beats. He remixed one of their songs called "The Way That I Do It," Footwork Edition, and that's how we're gonna wrap the show up. We're gonna play the song for you guys. We appreciate you guys for rocking with us. The Way That I Do It. It's a hit. If you're from Chicago and you into footwork and culture, you're gonna like this one, man. I could never footwork. I was always jealous of the dudes when we were younger who could footwork, BK, because they got all the girls. You know what I'm saying? You remember the song "Do You Love Me Now That I Can Dance"?
Yeah, but you know what? You always had comedy, so you never had to worry about that. Like,
And I could write. Once I started writing poetry, it changed. But back when
that's
you
right.
five, fifth, sixth, seventh grade, you ain't doing nothing else. If you couldn't, boom, 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 you couldn't do that. You was just sitting there watching. But check out this new track. We appreciate you guys for rocking with us this week on Chopping It Up Chicago. We hope to be back with you guys next week if things aren't too busy for us. But we definitely haven't forgot about our first love. We're gonna be here for you guys as often as possible. BK, you got anything to say before we dip up out of here?
Um, Hugs and kisses and all good wishes. We love you, family.
Peace, y'all. Check out this new track from Young Blaze, "The Way That I Do It."
Let's go. Young Blaze. Twin Beats. Now watch the way that I do Chicago. Now watch the way that I do it. Now watch the way that I do it. Let's go. Now watch the way that I do it. Let's go. Now watch the way that I do it. Let's go. Now watch the way that I do it. Let's go. Now watch the way that I do it. Do it, go, do it, go, do it, go. Switch it. They heard the beat and they flow. That footwork work is so dope. Get in line and kill it hard as no joke. Shot to the go. Watch him take it down to the flow. If you don't grind, you slow. Hit him with the work they code. Work that, hurt that, murk that, man, they gone. This they song, man, bro, what you own? Send your crew back home. Cause that footwork will leave haters lurking. They going hard at that zone. Won't be long. Yup, and that's the way that it goes. From west side to that south side, man, I rep the crib and it shows. Let's roll to the low end. I wipe the shoes off. I tell them hop in. I turn the sound up. I watch them blast off. They take their phone out and then we lock in. Crowd wild, how we turn it out and we bang it loud and we barging in. We got crew and crew for that one-on-one. You gon' get that work when they put work in. Shorty bad, she got J's on and her mic's matching. She top 10. Her friends nice cause she light bright, but my favorite type is that dark skin. Every day you gon' get that play. You gon' see how much that you lacking. Hold it down when you hear that crowd cause we turn up live when we snapping. Now watch the way that I do it. 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 Let's go. Now watch the way that I do it. Let's go. Now watch the way that I do it. Let's go. Now watch the way that I do it. Let's go. Now watch the way that I do it. Do it, go, do it, go, do it, go. I'm about to take it in overdrive.
All right, that's the new one from Young Blaze. Y'all already know. If I could, well, yeah, I don't even want me to get into all of that real quick. I can do the footwork with my arms, but
Stop
hey,
it. Stop.
listen, check that one
No.
out. It's up on all all music platforms, of course, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. Young Blaze, the way that I do it with twin beats, that there is fire. That there right there should be good for the summer, man. For all these people that can
Yeah.
actually dance.
Yeah, well, thank you, family, for joining us again. We will see you guys next time. Peace.